Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm David Zhang. Here is a preview of some of today's top stories. As some state lawmakers held a ceremony to honor an anti-Catholic drag group, 3 organizations hosted a Christian Prayer Vigil in response. We'll have more on what took place at the state capitol. Some lawmakers are looking to ban employees from confronting shoplifters. Some say it's to ensure safety, but others say the bill only encourages more theft. San Franciscans held a funeral procession over the weekend. Stay tuned to hear more on what they were mourning and why. Breaking news, just this afternoon, Florida officials confirmed to Fox News that they indeed flew migrants to California. Officials say everyone on board signed waivers and a contractor ensured they arrived safely. This all comes as California Governor Gavin Newsom yesterday suggested kidnapping charges against the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis over the 2 flights that arrived in Sacramento. Florida officials fired back, telling Fox News that Democrat-led cities have been busing migrants elsewhere. But when Florida does it, they get accusations of kidnapping. Just yesterday, the term Sodom and Gomorrah was trending on Twitter. One user shared the video of California State Senator Scott Wiener honoring a member of the anti-Catholic group, Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Please note this report contains content that some viewers may find disturbing. The group refer to themselves as queer and trans nuns and are known for poking fun at Christian beliefs. One user shared a photo of men in leather gear at a pride parade dressed up as dogs, kneeling before a young girl with a pride flag. Yet another user shared a video of a pride parade in West Hollywood. In it, a man is whipping an almost naked man in the back of a pickup truck covered in pride flags. The truck is followed by people walking in dog masks and other leather gear. Sodom and Gomorrah were notoriously sinful cities in the book of Genesis in the Bible. The Bible says they were destroyed by sulfur and fire due to their wickedness. The ceremony for the anti-Catholic group received criticism from several religious groups. These groups hosted a solemn prayer while state legislators honored a drag nun at the Capitol. They say the group is offensive and mocks those with faith.
3 organizations hosted a Christian Prayer Vigil on Monday at the California State Capitol. It's a peaceful response to ceremonies on the Senate and Assembly floors honoring a controversial group of men who dress in drag as nuns, called the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. The vigil is meant to be a time of solemn prayer and worship. They raise their voices in hymns of the faith.
California Family Council, the California Catholic Conference, and the American Council, all here praying for our state and for our nation, and just really asking our state to respect religious freedom. We were deeply concerned that the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence were being honored today, but we were very grateful and appreciative that so many Christians came out to stand with us in prayer. We had legislators, we had pastors, we had priests and nuns, and it was an honor to lead this event together with these 3 organizations.
This comes after Senator Scott Wiener invited drag nun activist Sister Roma to be honored on the Senate floor as part of the legislature's Pride Month event. All 8 Republicans in the chamber issued a public letter asking the Senate leader to withdraw her invitation. But Senate President pro tempore Tony Atkins denied their request.
You know, and as a Christian, I know that's why we're gathered here today, is we felt that hurt of our faith that we hold so dear being denigrated, being held in such a vulgar light. It hurts as a person of faith.
Not only is this blasphemous, but it is also very dangerous to the people who are doing this. And it's also very dangerous to the Senator Wiener. It's very dangerous to his soul. And I feel that our government is taking this path by leaps and bounds, and it will not benefit anyone. It's satanic.
This also comes after the Dodgers announced their intent to honor the Dragnon Group. The baseball team initially withdrew the invitation after protests from religious and political leaders, but the Dodgers re-invited them after pro-LGBTQ legislators and activists strongly objected.
Also in Sacramento, some California lawmakers are pushing to prevent employers from requiring employees to confront shoplifters. NTD's David Lamb reports.
Senate Bill 553, submitted by State Senator Dave Cortese, was passed by the State Senate. Cortese hopes the law can prevent workplace violence and keep employees safe. It would also prohibit employers from requiring workers to confront suspected active shoplifters. Senator Cortese said, with workplace violence on the rise, stronger protections are needed to help workers feel safe. Now, we spoke to some Californians, and they have differing views on this issue.
There probably should be a bill. I think that's probably already the status quo of just for safety and insurance purposes. That's already kind of like what's happening.
I have a fiance who's a store manager, and he cannot confront them. And I feel like if they're not confronted, it keeps going. The problem kind of keeps escalating. I do think it could be dangerous, so I do think there should be some restrictions and some boundaries that should be met.
Theft in California have been making headlines as retail stores have shut down in the past few years due to crime.
It's a hard situation to deal with just because of that. They're people in bad situations and probably stressed out, like trying to live day to day, and it's just a tough situation for businesses and for the people in those situations. So it's kind of a confrontation that's inevitable, I guess. But they should just be hiring security professionals. Those people are trained to deal with these kind of situations.
But ultimately, I feel like they should be apprehended, because if you let them get away with it, it's almost like letting a kid keep stealing candy, not holding them responsible. And stores are losing, businesses are losing, small businesses are losing. And if nothing's being done, we can report it to the police, but how many of these police reports, kind of get written down?
SB 553 requires employers to maintain a violent incident log and provide active shooter and shoplifter training. The bill is now headed to the State Assembly. In Santa Clara, California, David Lamb, NTD News.
And a lot is also happening in San Francisco. The city held a funeral procession over the weekend, not for an individual, but for the transit agencies in the city. It ended in front of City Hall with a rally.
Dozens marched down San Francisco's Market Street to City Hall for a funeral procession for Bart and Muni. The unusual protest mourned transit agencies as they were losing state funding.
Let's be clear, we have world-class public transportation here in San Francisco. And we should never, ever take that for granted, that you can get to any part of this city using public transit. And we should never take it for granted, and now we are seeing what it means to have taken this for granted, because we are at such severe risk of actually seeing public transportation in the Bay Area crater.
According to a letter sent to Governor Gavin Newsom's office from the California State Legislature, funding for many of the state's transit agencies were not included in this year's state budget. It reads, transit systems across the state are at risk of drastic service cuts due to large, near-term operating budget shortfalls precipitated by slower than expected ridership recovery, inflation-driven increases in operating and capital costs, and the exhaustion of federal relief funds.
And I know San Franciscans are frustrated. We've had to make hard decisions about lines to make sure that they were more efficient. And the fact is, if this money doesn't come through, it will be worse.
In a statement, Bart said, quote, each day Bart moves closer to plunging off the fiscal cliff if the state does not provide short-term financial aid to fund transit operations. Failure could look like trains running less frequently, no trains on weekends, station closure, or closure of entire lines. Similarly, Muni said without state funding, they would have to cut service back to pandemic levels when there were 40% fewer Muni routes and service ended at 10 p.m. In front of City Hall, protesters laid down plywood coffins and flowers.
We'll take a short break now, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. San Francisco is being sued for a guaranteed income program. Opponents say the initiative is discriminatory based on race. And a rare Wolverine sighting was recently reported. This is the first appearance in 100 years. Those stories and more coming up on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, David Zhang. San Francisco and several California entities are being sued. The Californians for Equal Rights Foundation says San Francisco's guaranteed income programs discriminate based on race. NTD's David Lam hears more from the coalition's executive director.
So recently, your organization is suing San Francisco and several other entities in California. Could you tell me what initiated you to do this?
Sure. So first of all, thank you for having me on the show. We recently launched a joint lawsuit against several defendants, including the City and County of San Francisco Unified School District, the University of California Regents, and the California Health and Human Relations Agency for guaranteed income programs that have been rolled out between June 2021 and more recently, spring of this year. So what prompted us to launch this legal challenge is very simple. It's very straightforward. Our legal theory is that basically these guaranteed income programs, even though that they are being implemented under the disguise of equity or diversity, they are cash transfer programs that are based on race first and foremost, and also on gender or sexual orientation classifications.
Now, has the county responded in any way?
They have not. We just filed the lawsuit on May 31st, which is last Wednesday. There are 4 programs we are challenging specifically. The first one was launched by San Francisco Unified School District and the City of San Francisco. It's called the Abundant Birth Project, APB. It provides unconditional cash supplements of up to $1,000 to Black and Pacific Islander mothers as a way to reduce preterm births, birth fatalities, and improve economic outcomes for these so-called marginalized communities. So it's blatantly based on race and ethnicity. The second program is called a Guaranteed Income for Trans People. The acronym is GIFT, G-I-F-T. It offers low-income transgender San Franciscans with a $1,200 monthly stipend up to 18 months, with priority given to the so-called BIPOC populations. And this program is a joint venture between the city and the county of San Francisco, and it was implemented in spring of this year. So that's the latest race-based income, guaranteed income or minimum income program. The third program is called the Guaranteed Income Pilot for Artists, GIPA, G-I-P-A. It provides 190 artists of particular races and gender expressions monthly payments of $1,000 for up to 18 months. And this program is a partnership between the city and county of San Francisco and the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts. And the last program is named the Black Economic Equity Movement, BEAM, B-E-E-M, which selects about 300 Black young adults aged 18 to 24 to receive about $500 a month for a year. And this last program was started by the city, county of San Francisco, as well as UC Berkeley and UC San Francisco in November 2022. So all these programs, as you see, the eligibility criteria are expressly racial, or sex and gender-based, in the case of the guaranteed income for trans people. And as you may know, Supreme Court rulings and our case law history indicate that any racial classifications in the use of public funds or government resources have to satisfy strict scrutiny.
Dr. Wenyuan Wu, thank you so much for your time. We hope to have you back on the show soon.
Speaking of San Francisco, the city was once a magnet for business and tourism, but some now say it's no longer safe. A former supervisor shares her thoughts on what's changed and why.
Once sought out by many as a travel and business destination, San Francisco now often makes headlines for different reasons. Former president of the Board of Supervisors, Angela Alioto, told California insiders Siamak Karami that a combination of corruption and lack of motivation to solve problems is plaguing the city.
We need a district attorney who's going to enforce the law, and we don't have that.
Alioto and her family are longtime residents in the city, with one of her grandparents being born in the city in 1880. Her father also served as mayor of the city from 1966 to 1977.
To see the decay, to see the amount of crime that's rampant. I cannot go to Walgreens to pick up medicine. I won't do it. I won't go alone. I did it 3 weeks ago, and it was a horrible experience. It's out of control because there's no law enforcement. We have a great San Francisco Police Department. They're discouraged. They're discouraged. Their morale is very down.
She suggested that a solution lies in fulfilling the minimum staffing needed by the police department, emergency services, and fire department. She added that some laws and programs aimed at helping homeless or drug addicts end up contributing to the problem. One example is the 1995 Emergency Needle Exchange legislation. At the time, the program was passed as a public health measure to prevent the spread of diseases. However, this law is now being used to provide free needles to drug addicts.
People come to San Francisco because the programs are way too lenient. And, I'm at fault for that to a degree. I'll take,
Is it because they can do drugs freely there?
No. It's against the law to do drugs freely, okay? It's against the law to buy drugs. It's against the law. We just don't arrest them for it.
We don't enforce it anymore.
We don't enforce it anymore. Now they want to bring, these centers where you sit there and you choose cocaine, heroin, injections, and you inject yourself in front of people that stand there with a Norcon can that will save your life if you overdose.
This is leaving the city strewn with used needles. Adding to the problems, Proposition 47 made theft of property less than $950 a misdemeanor. According to city crime statistics, shoplifting increased dramatically in recent years, and smash and grab thefts continuously made headlines in late 2021 and throughout 2022.
Set to be only the second time within 100 years. A wild Wolverine was spotted in California. The last two times one was seen was in 2018 and 1922. NTD's Jason Blair has that story.
Multiple rare sightings of a Wolverine have been reported in California's eastern Sierra Nevada mountains. 2 in Inyo National Forest and 1 in Yosemite National Park. All 3 were in May. California Department of Fish and Wildlife senior environmental scientist Daniel Gammon stated, quote, "Because only 2 Wolverines have been confirmed in California during the last 100 years, these latest detections are exciting. Although they look similar to a bear, Wolverines are a species of weasel. 25 to 300 wild Wolverines are estimated to be in the lower 48 states of the U.S. Jason Blair, NTD News, California.
Now let's check in with NTD's Carlos Reyes for our sports roundup.
This is your California Sports Roundup, and I'm Carlos Reyes. Blake Snell pitched 6 scoreless innings for a second straight start, and Gary Sanchez opened the scoring with a 2-run homer as San Diego defeated visiting Chicago to gain a split of a 4-game series. Snell gave up 2 hits and 3 walks while striking out 8. The left-hander threw a season-high 109 pitches and stretched his scoreless streak to 16 innings. Snell retired 10 of the last 11 batters he faced. Chicago starter Kyle Hendricks gave up 4 runs on 6 hits with 4 strikeouts and no walks in 6 innings. He retired the last 10 Padres he faced, but that wasn't enough because San Diego walked out with a win. Padres 5, Cubs 0. León beat LAFC 1-0 in the second leg of the CONCACAF Champions League final at BMO Stadium on Sunday to win its first ever continental title by a final score of 3-1 on aggregate. LAFC came into the match trailing 2-1 from the first leg in León, looking to overturn that deficit and make it back-to-back Champions League titles for the MLS after Seattle Sounders beat Pumas in last year's final. LAFC midfielder Timothy Tillman caused a bit of controversy online prior to the matchup after he shared his thoughts on Mexican football.
I think Mexican teams usually don't play that tactical. It's more or less emotional, very much 1v1s, and yeah, it's all about fighting, all about the emotions, and of course they got quality up front, but yeah, if we play well, I'm sure we can win over there.
Tillman's remarks were faced with fiery backlash from Liga MX fans who were quick to rally behind Club León ahead of Sunday's matchup. Despite putting on a good show in the opening 20 minutes, the hosts found themselves behind when Ivan Moreno broke down the right flank and picked out Lucas Diorio in the center of the area to beat John McCarthy with a first-time shot. From that moment on, León had the better of possession and chances on goal, easily passing its way through LAFC's experimental 5-man backline, which looked disorganized and confused in the opening 45 minutes. LAFC manager Steve Cherundolo put José Cifuentes on for the experienced Giorgio Chiellini at halftime and surprisingly pulled Carlos Vela, who had been largely ineffective throughout, in the 64th minute as the home side continued to try and find a way back into the game. Shortly before 70 minutes, Lucas Romero clashed heads violently with Aaron Long, who was attempting to head a loose ball in, with both players requiring attention on the field from their team's medical staff. Moreno was able to play on, but LAFC was forced to bring in Daniel Maldonado on for Long, who left the pitch holding a towel in order to stop the blood oozing out of his head with the assistance of 2 team staff. In all, Cherundolo made 6 changes to his team in the second, but it was to no avail as León continued to frustrate the 2022 MLS Cup champions and saw out 10 minutes of second half stoppage time to earn a historic win for the club.
That is it for today's Sports Roundup. Thank you for watching. I'm Carlos Reyes.
Thanks, Carlos, and that's all we've got for you tonight. We would like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Ganjing World, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.